大家好，我是 Jenny， 欢迎来到沉思者 J。你有没有想过一个问题？为什么我们每天拼命工作，即使薪水够用了还是停不下来，即使假日也在想工作上的事？这种感觉从哪里来的？有一个人早在100多年前就想通了这件事，他的名字叫马克斯韋伯。他不只解释了工作狂文化的源头，他还预测了我们今天活在官僚体制里的那种窒息感。今天 Jenny 就带你走进这位社会学奠基者的世界，一起来看看他留给我们的那把解剖现代社会的手术刀。韋伯出生在1864年的德国，那个年代的德国正在快速工业化，整个社会充满了躁动和变革。他的家庭是上层中产阶级，父亲是政治人物，家里常有学者和政治家往来。韋伯从小就泡在思想的氛围里，这种环境让他很早就对社会运作产生了好奇。他问的不是个人怎么成功，而是整个社会为什么会变成这个样子。这个问题陪了他一辈子。韋伯从小就是个读书机器，14岁开始阅读大量哲学和历史着作。他读康德，读史宾诺莎，读叔本华。在同龄人还在玩耍的时候，他已经在研究古罗马帝国的农业制度了。他后来进入海德堡大学，学习法律和经济，但他的兴趣远远超出这两个领域，哲学、历史、神学、统计学，他全部都碰。他是那种读书不设边界的人，每个问题都要追根究底。韋伯的求学之路并不轻松，家庭的气氛对他影响很深。父亲强势而务实，母亲则虔诚信仰加尔文主义。这两种截然不同的气质在他身上同时存在，造就了他后来那种既冷静分析又有深刻人文关怀的思考风格。他在求学期间服过兵役，也曾为了省钱一度吃得很简单，但他从来没有停止读书和思考。这种自律精神本身就是他后来研究主题的活生生体现。韋伯在年轻时写下了一篇关于中世纪商业公司的论文，被评为非常出色。之后他又完成了农业制度相关的深度研究。这些早期作品已经显示出他的特点，他喜欢从大量历史材料中找出规律，不只是描述发生了什么，而是要解释为什么会这样。29岁时，韋伯成为柏林大学的教授。当时他的学术生涯看起来非常顺利，但命运总是出人意料。1897年，他的父亲去世了。就在父子关系极度紧张之后不久，韋伯的心理健康出现了严重问题，他陷入了深度的神经衰弱，完全无法工作，无法阅读，甚至无法思考。这个状态持续了将近4年，这段时间对他来说是地狱。一个靠思考为生的人失去了思考的能力，那种痛苦难以想象。但正是这段沉寂的时光，让他在重新出发时有了更深层的洞见。他开始认真思考人为什么工作，工作对人的意义究竟是什么。在病愈后，他前往美国进行了一次重要的旅行。他看到了美国那种蓬勃的资本主义精神，那种拼命赚钱却不知道为什么要赚钱的文化，这让他感到既着迷又困惑。这次旅行成为了他后来最重要着作的直接灵感来源。1905年，韋伯发表了他一生中最著名的作品《新教伦理与资本主义精神》。这本书的核心论点非常大胆，他说现代资本主义的兴起不只是经济现象，背后有一个精神上的根源，那就是新教的加尔文主义。加尔文主义有一个很特别的信仰核心，叫做预选论，意思是上帝在你出生之前就已经决定了你是不是得救的人，你没办法改变这个结果，你也不知道自己是哪一类。对一个虔诚的信徒来说，这是极大的心理压力。我到底是被选上的那个人吗？我怎么知道我已经得救了？加尔文主义的信徒慢慢发展出一个应对方法，他们认为如果上帝选择了你，那你的工作一定会成功，所以在世上的成就就成了得救的间接证明。努力工作赚钱节省不奢侈，这些行为不只是谋生的手段，更是在向自己和别人证明我是蒙恩的人。韋伯说，正是这种心理机制，把工作本身变成了一种宗教义务，劳动不再只是维生的必要手段， 而是成为了道德行为本身。他用了一个德文词叫 Beruf， 这个字同时有职业和天职两个意思。你的工作就是你的使命，你的使命就是你的工作。随着时间过去，宗教的热情冷却了，但这种把工作当成义务的习惯却留了下来，就像脱了壳的蟹一样，原本的精神外壳没有了，但那个行为模式本身已经内化成文化 DNA。 韋伯说，这就是为什么现代西方人即使不再信教也还是拼命工作，那不是因为他们快乐，而是因为他们不工作会感到有罪恶感。你是不是突然觉得很熟悉那种假日不工作就不安的感觉，那种不产出就觉得自己没价值的焦虑？韋伯早就把你说的明明白白了。韋伯的另一个重大贡献是他对官僚制度的分析。他把现代官僚制度看成是理性化社会的最高表现。官僚制有几个核心特征：清楚的层级结构，明确的规则和程序，依照专业能力任用，以文件记录作为行动依据。从效率的角度来说，这是非常先进的组织方式，比起过去那种依靠个人魅力或世袭权威来统治的方式，官僚制要稳定得多也公平得多。但韋伯同时也看到了他黑暗的一面。他用了一个令人不安的比喻，铁笼。他说现代人被关在理性化的铁笼里，那个笼子是用规则、程序、效率和计算打造的。你在里面很安全，很有秩序，但你也失去了自由，失去了灵魂，失去了意义感。你变成了机器上的一个螺丝钉，系统继续运转，但你是谁已经不重要了。这个比喻在今天读来依然让人背脊发凉。当你在公司填一份又一份的表格，当你的创意被流程杀死，当你必须为一个决定等待10个人签名，你就在韋伯描述的那个铁笼里。韋伯进一步分析了权威的3种类型。第一种是传统型权威，靠的是习俗和传统，因为从来都是这样，所以你必须服从。第二种是魅力型权威，靠的是个人的超凡魅力，人们追随领袖是因为那个人让他们心甘情愿。第三种是法理型权威，靠的是规则和法律，你服从的不是某个人，而是某个职位。韋伯说，现代社会正在从传统型和魅力型走向法理型，这个转变带来了稳定和公正，但也带走了某种人性的温度。当所有事情都靠规则来决定，当个人的判断和情感不再被允许进入决策，那个社会确实更有效率，但也更加冰冷。韋伯还提出了一个非常重要的方法论概念，叫做理解社会学。他认为研究社会不能只看外在的行为，还必须理解行动者背后的意义。人为什么这样做？他对这件事的意义是什么？这跟研究自然科学不一样。一块石头滚下山不需要问他为什么，但一个人做决定你必须问他的动机和意义。他还提出了理念型的概念，不是说这是最完美的理想，而是说这是一个分析用的纯粹概念。现实中的事物不可能100%符合这个纯粹类型，但这个工具让我们可以更精确地比较和分析，就好像科学家用理想气体来研究真实气体一样。韋伯的一生充满了政治参与和学术辩论。第一次世界大战期间，他积极投身政治。他相信德国需要强有力的民主领导，不是由官僚统治，而是要有真正的政治家，能在议会中辩论，能对人民负责的那种。他在战后的德国政治转型中扮演了重要角色，虽然他自己最终没有走上从政的道路。1919年，他在慕尼黑大学发表了2场著名演讲，一场叫学术作为一种志业，另一场叫政治作为一种志业。在那个动荡的年代里，他告诉学生，学术需要激情，但也需要冷静；政治需要热情，但也需要责任感。他说，政治家必须同时具备热情、坚定的意志和责任伦理，这3者缺一不可。这2场演讲直到今天还被广泛引用。韋伯的个人生活并不是一帆风顺，他的婚姻虽然维持了一生，但夫妻之间的关系更像是知识上的伙伴。他的情感世界复杂而压抑，后来他与另一位女性建立了深刻的情感连结，这段关系在他那个年代充满争议。韋伯不是一个完美的人， 他也活在自己理论所描述的那种紧张和矛盾之中，这让他的思想更有人味。1920年，就在韋伯最活跃的时候，他因为肺炎突然去世，享年56岁。他留下了大量未完成的手稿，后来由他的妻子整理出版，其中包括《居住经济与社会》。这本书奠定了他现代社会学奠基者的地位。韋伯对后世的影响难以估量，他的新教伦理理论至今仍然是学术界的重要讨论对象，有人支持，有人反驳，但几乎没有人可以忽视他。他对官僚制度的分析成为了所有管理学和组织理论的基础。他对理性化的忧虑也成为了20世纪最重要的文化批判之一。法兰克福学派在他的基础上继续发展，哈伯、马斯、福柯都直接或间接受到他的影响。韋伯最令人敬畏的地方也许是他的诚实，他不给你答案，他帮你看清问题。他说现代社会的理性化既是人类最伟大的成就，也是最深刻的困境。他没有浪漫地告诉你怎么逃出铁笼，他只是非常精确地让你看清楚你正在被什么样的力量塑造。这种知识本身就是一种解放，即使它不能立刻改变你的处境。他的一句话让 Jenny 非常难忘，他说成熟就是在毫无幻想的情况下仍然能够全力以赴，不是天真的乐观，不是悲观的放弃，而是清醒地看到现实的所有残酷，然后还是选择投入，选择有所作为。这是一种非常难的人生境界，但也是最真实的勇气。今天的马克思韋伯介绍就到这里。如果你在工作中感到窒息，不妨想想韋伯说的铁笼，也许命名问题是解决问题的第一步。如果你发现自己把工作当成了信仰，也许可以问问自己，这是你真正想要的吗？还是你只是继承了几百年前某个宗教焦虑留下的文化遗产？感谢你今天和 Jenny 一起认识了这位用理性解剖现代社会的大师。欢迎在留言区告诉我，你有没有在自己身上看到韋伯说的那些影子？记得订阅沉思者 J， 我们下次见咯。Hello everyone, I'm Jenny. Welcome to Thinker J. Have you ever asked yourself this question? Why do we work so hard every single day? Even when we have enough money, we just cannot stop. Even on weekends, our minds keep drifting back to work. Where does that feeling come from? One man figured this out more than 100 years ago. His name was Max Weber. He did not just explain the origins of workaholic culture. He also predicted the suffocating feeling we get from living inside bureaucratic systems. Today I want to take you into the world of this founding father of sociology. Together we will explore the analytical scalpel he left us for dissecting modern society. Weber was born in 1864 in Germany. Germany at that time was industrializing at a rapid pace. The entire society was filled with restlessness and transformation. His family belonged to the upper middle class. His father was a politician. Scholars and politicians regularly visited their home. Weber grew up surrounded by an atmosphere of ideas. This environment made him curious about how society works from a very young age. He was not asking how an individual could succeed. He was asking why the entire society had become the way it was. That question stayed with him for the rest of his life. Weber was a reading machine from childhood. By the age of 14 he was already consuming large amounts of philosophy and history. He read Kant, Spinoza, and Schopenhauer. While his peers were out playing, he was researching the agricultural systems of ancient Rome. He later entered the University of Heidelberg to study law and economics. But his interests extended far beyond those two fields. Philosophy, history, theology, statistics. He touched all of them. He was the kind of person who read without borders. Every question had to be followed to its root. His journey through education was not without struggle. The atmosphere of his family shaped him deeply. His father was forceful and pragmatic. His mother was a devout Calvinist. These two very different qualities coexisted within him. They created the thinking style he became known for. Cold analytical precision combined with deep humanist concern. He served in the military during his studies. At times he ate very simply to save money. But he never stopped reading and thinking. That kind of discipline was itself a living embodiment of the themes he would later spend his life studying. In his early career, Weber produced a remarkable thesis on medieval trading companies. It was praised as outstanding. He followed it with deep research into agrarian systems. These early works already showed his signature quality. He loved to draw patterns from vast amounts of historical material, not just describing what happened, but explaining why. At 29, Weber became a professor at the University of Berlin. At that point his academic career looked extremely promising. But fate always has surprises. In 1897, his father died. It happened shortly after an intensely bitter conflict between father and son. Weber's mental health collapsed. He fell into a severe nervous breakdown. He was completely unable to work, unable to read, unable even to think. This condition lasted nearly 4 years. Those years were a kind of hell for him. A man whose entire identity was built on thinking had lost the ability to think. The pain of that is almost impossible to imagine. But it was precisely during that silence that he developed deeper insights when he finally returned. He began seriously asking why people work. What work actually means to human beings. After his recovery he traveled to the United States. He witnessed the vigorous capitalist spirit there firsthand. That culture of driving oneself to make money without quite knowing why. He found it both fascinating and deeply puzzling. That journey became the direct inspiration for the most important work of his life. In 1905 Weber published the book that made him famous. The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. The central argument was bold. He said the rise of modern capitalism was not just an economic phenomenon. There was a spiritual root beneath it. That root was Protestant Calvinism. Calvinism had a very distinctive belief at its core, called the doctrine of predestination. The idea was that God had already decided before you were born whether you were among the saved. You could not change this outcome. And you could not know which group you belonged to. For a devout believer this was enormous psychological pressure. Am I one of the chosen ones? How can I possibly know if I am saved? Calvinist believers gradually developed a way of coping with this anxiety. They reasoned that if God had chosen you, your work in the world would prosper. So success in worldly affairs became an indirect sign of divine favor. Working hard, earning money, saving carefully, avoiding luxury. These behaviors were not just practical necessities. They were ways of demonstrating to yourself and others that you were among the blessed. Weber argued that this psychological mechanism turned work itself into a religious duty. Labor was no longer simply a means of survival. It became a moral act in its own right. He used a German word called Beruf. This word carries both the meaning of occupation and the meaning of calling. Your job is your mission. Your mission is your job. As time passed, religious fervor faded. But the habit of treating work as an obligation remained. Like a crab that has shed its shell. The original spiritual container was gone. But the behavioral pattern had already been absorbed into cultural DNA. Weber said this is why modern Western people, even those who no longer practice religion, still drive themselves relentlessly. Not because they are happy doing it, but because not working makes them feel guilty. Does that sound familiar? That unease you feel when you are not being productive on a weekend. That anxiety that tells you if you are not producing something you have no value. Weber described you perfectly, more than a century ago. Another major contribution Weber made was his analysis of bureaucracy. He saw the modern bureaucratic system as the highest expression of a rationalized society. Bureaucracy has several core features. A clear hierarchical structure, explicit rules and procedures, appointments based on professional competence, decisions grounded in documented records. From an efficiency standpoint, this was a remarkably advanced form of organization. Compared to systems based on personal charisma or hereditary authority, bureaucracy was far more stable and far more fair. But Weber also saw its dark side. He used a deeply unsettling metaphor: the iron cage. He said modern people are locked inside a rationalized iron cage. That cage is built from rules, procedures, efficiency, and calculation. Inside you are safe and orderly. But you have also lost your freedom, your soul, your sense of meaning. You have become a replaceable screw in a vast machine. The system continues to run, but who you are no longer matters. Reading those words today still sends a chill down the spine. When you are filling out form after form at work. When your creative ideas are killed by process requirements. When you need 10 signatures before any decision can be made. You are living inside the iron cage Weber described. Weber went further and analyzed 3 types of authority. The first is traditional authority, based on custom and tradition. You obey because things have always been done this way. The second is charismatic authority, based on the extraordinary personal magnetism of a leader. People follow because that individual makes them genuinely want to. The third is legal rational authority, based on rules and laws. What you obey is not a person but a position. Weber said modern society was moving away from traditional and charismatic authority toward legal rational authority. This shift brought stability and fairness. But it also removed a certain human warmth. When every decision is governed by rules, when personal judgment and emotion are no longer allowed into the decision-making process, that society becomes more efficient, but also colder. Weber also put forward an extremely important methodological concept, called interpretive sociology. He argued that studying society is not just about observing external behavior. You must also understand the meaning behind the actions. Why is this person doing what they are doing? What does this action mean to them? This is different from studying the natural sciences. A rock rolling down a hill does not need to explain itself. But a human being making a decision requires you to ask about motive and meaning. He also introduced the concept of the ideal type. Not ideal in the sense of perfect or aspirational, but ideal in the sense of a pure analytical tool. Real-world things will never match this pure type exactly. But the concept allows us to compare and analyze with greater precision. The way a scientist uses the ideal gas model to study real gases. Weber lived a life full of political engagement and intellectual debate. During the First World War he threw himself into political involvement. He believed Germany needed strong democratic leadership. Not ruled by bureaucrats but genuine political leaders. The kind who could debate in parliament and be accountable to the people. He played a meaningful role in the political transformation of post-war Germany, even though he ultimately did not take a political position himself. In 1919 he delivered 2 famous lectures at the University of Munich. One was called Science as a Vocation. The other was called Politics as a Vocation. In that turbulent era, he told students that scholarship requires both passion and clear-eyed detachment. Politics requires both conviction and a deep sense of responsibility. He said a political leader must possess passion, firm will, and a sense of ethical responsibility simultaneously. None of the 3 can be missing. Those 2 lectures are still widely cited today. Weber's personal life was not without its complications. His marriage lasted a lifetime, but the relationship between husband and wife functioned more as an intellectual partnership. His emotional world was complex and restrained. He later developed a profound emotional connection with another woman. That relationship was controversial by the standards of his time. Weber was not a perfect man. He lived inside the very tensions and contradictions his own theories described. This makes his thinking feel more human. In 1920, at a time when Weber was at the height of his intellectual activity, he died suddenly of pneumonia. He was 56 years old. He left behind a large body of unfinished manuscripts, later organized and published by his wife. Among them was the monumental work called Economy and Society. That book secured his place as a founding figure of modern sociology. The influence Weber has had on subsequent generations is difficult to overstate. His Protestant ethic theory remains a major subject of academic debate to this day. Some support it and some challenge it, but almost no one can afford to ignore it. His analysis of bureaucracy became the foundation for all management theory and organizational studies. His concern about rationalization became one of the most important cultural critiques of the 20th century. The Frankfurt School developed directly from his foundations. Habermas and Foucault were both directly or indirectly shaped by his work. Perhaps the most impressive thing about Weber is his honesty. He does not give you answers. He helps you see the problem clearly. He said the rationalization of modern society is simultaneously humanity's greatest achievement and its most profound predicament. He did not romantically tell you how to escape from the iron cage. He simply showed you, with great precision, what forces are shaping you and how. That knowledge itself is a form of liberation, even if it cannot immediately change your circumstances. There is one line of his that I find especially unforgettable. He said that maturity means being able to give your full effort with absolutely no illusions. Not naive optimism, not pessimistic withdrawal, but seeing the full harshness of reality with clear eyes. And still choosing to engage, still choosing to act. That is a very difficult place to reach in life. But it is also the most genuine form of courage. That is all for today's introduction to Max Weber. If you find yourself feeling suffocated at work, think about the iron cage Weber described. Perhaps naming the problem is the first step toward addressing it. If you discover that you have turned work into a kind of faith, perhaps it is worth asking yourself whether that is truly what you want, or whether you have simply inherited a cultural legacy, left behind by a religious anxiety from several centuries ago. Thank you for exploring this master of rational social analysis with me today. Feel free to leave a comment below and tell me, do you recognize any of Weber's descriptions in your own life? Remember to subscribe to Thinker J. See you next time.